Good evening. My name is Brian Wardle, and we're waiting for attendees to turn up. So they're just clicking in, and I will just wait a couple of minutes for people to turn up. So just hang around for a couple of minutes, and I'll make a start in about a minute's time. And there's Mike on the other camera waving away.
Right, okay, well, we'll pick a start. We've got a few more people join the meeting now. So first of all, I'd just like to welcome you all to our second art design webinar. So this webinar is going to focus on photography and also graphics, both of which are A-level courses. Now it's worth just noting
we can hear you at the moment.
I know, all I can hear is I'm going to turn my speakers down here. Oh, who's muted? Somebody's muted something there anyway.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can't hear any more of that. Right, okay, we're up to 38 participants, so I think I'll make a start now. So good evening, everybody. My name is Brian Wardle. I'm the course leader for physics, and on the other camera, sat comfortably at home, is Mike, who also teaches physics here. So I'll let Mike say hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm just at home with a cup of tea.
Inappropriate cup of tea moment. Yeah, so I'm the course leader for physics. I'm going to talk for about 10 minutes, give you some information about the course. If you've got any questions, if you just click the, let me get this right, if you click the Q&A button, and Mike will make a note of any questions, and then after I've finished giving you information about the course, we're going to hand over to Mike, and Mike's going to answer any questions which pop up. So if you have any questions at any stage, just use that Q&A facility, and Mike will be monitoring that. Okay, so first of all, why choose physics, or why even think about physics? To be honest, I've said this so many times during open evenings, physics is it's a pretty awesome subject. Of course, I'm going to say that. I'm obviously completely utterly biased on this one, but physics is the subject which allows us to answer or approach trying to answer the big questions, like why are we here, where have we come from, or even where are we going to. Talk about the universe, who knows where we're going to at the moment for all this COVID virus, but in terms of universe, you know, what's the likely outcomes of the expansion of the universe? So other big topics at the moment, this idea of dark matter, dark energy. Why is the universe, why is the expansion rate of the universe increasing? So we spend a lot of time talking about universe. We also look at the, right down to the other scale of things. We look at quantum physics, we'll look at the structure of matter. So we spend time looking at quarks, hadrons, mesons, and all these subatomic particles, and all these sort of things. There's aspects of them in the course we study here at QE. So of course, it's the OCR option A. OCR run two options, it's option A. And what I like about the option A course is it has good chunks of the cosmology and nuclear physics, as well as medical physics and quantum physics enrolled in it. So of course, to me, it's got a good range of the interesting aspects of physics, which most student parents, even most people ask about these areas of physics. We also get one of the, if you do decide to do physics here, I'm going to swap my camera angle over. You will all, as students, be issued with a textbook. Now, there's a textbook coming to glorious folks. Textbooks, as I said, you all get issued a copy of it. This is just a first year textbook. There's a second year textbook for our second year students. It's nicely laid out. It's broken down into little sections, and it's there to support your learning. So we'll do a lesson, and at the end of it, pretty much a lesson for a double parade spread, and then you've got summary questions to try and, again, check that you understand what's going on. The summary questions have their answers in the back of the textbook, so you've got access to those answers. If you have any problems, you can see myself and Mike by emailing us or staying behind the end of lessons. At the end of each topic, then we have past paper exam questions. Now those answers aren't in the back of the book, and they're more challenging. I said they're past paper questions. And we have lots of other resources to support students. We use Isaac Physics, Physics Online. We have some other resources in-house here to use as well. Okay, one thing students do get scared about, before I swap camera back, I might as well put that on there, is for GCSE, you have to revise a lot of your equations. For A-level physics, you get this data formula booklet, which has a lot of useful data, but it gives you the equations that you need. So there's absolutely no need to memorize equations. It's not a question of how well you can remember equations. It's about how you can apply them and utilize the information. Right, entry requirements. Entry requirements, we are looking for a 6 in your physics. You do straight physics, or if you're doing dual award sciences, 6 and 6. And general overall profile, the details are on the QE website. But yeah, we're mainly looking for 6, as I said, a 6. One of the big questions we get asked is, do I need to do maths? So over the last couple of years, we changed our requirements. You don't need to do maths. Obviously, there are advantages to doing maths, because physics is obviously got a high element of maths there, but you don't need to be doing maths. We will put any support in place as we can to help consolidate any maths. It's not difficult maths at A level, but there's a question of speed, the speed of doing the mathematics. And obviously, not doing maths A level, your speed of doing the maths might slow down a little. So, but you get plenty of practice. The type of maths we need is rearranging equations, substitution, that kind of thing. You do it all the time, so you keep those skills, you maintain those skills. Big thing though is, if you are thinking about doing physics to university level, you really would need to be taking maths A level. There are 1 or 2 courses where you can do like a formative year. But really, if you think about physics for a degree course or taking it higher, you really would need to be taking maths. But if you just want to do physics up to A level and stop it there, you don't need to be doing maths. Right, okay, a couple more things. Again, popular questions that get asked about the exams. How is it examined? You get 3 exam papers at the end of 2 years. There's no coursework aspect to it as such, so it's 3 exam papers examining all aspects of a course. One paper does 2 topics, another paper does another 2 topics, and the third paper covers everything. So there's 4 main taught topics, 4 main modules. There is a bolt-on certificate called a PAG certificate, and that examines your practical skills. And you get this bolt-on certificate called a PAG certificate, and we monitor and accrue that through the course. A little bit like coursework used to be, but basically you just do your practical work and we assess your skills you're developing through the practicals you do. We do lots of practical work in this course, but there are a minimum of 12 assessed practicals. Nothing to worry about at all. It's just to make sure university are a little bit concerned that students may or may not get the correct skills practically wise. So this was brought into the course. Okay, so yeah, skills developed during the course. Physics is a great subject because you naturally build up thinking skills, problem solving skills, thinking skills. These things naturally develop throughout the course. You're going to do quite a lot of homework. There's no 2 ways about it. I can't fudge over that one. There'll be a high emphasis of homework. You have to practice the questions, a feed we've been doing in class. And through the homeworks, through the class activities, through your practical work, you develop lots of skills, lots of employability skills, which seems to be a bit of a buzzword these days. So you'll get that through, as I said, practical work, group work. Resilience is a key one. At times, you may well find some of the aspects of a course hard, and you will develop resilience to work through the material, to work through the online support, to come back to Mike and myself to ask questions. So you'll definitely develop these sort of highly sought after skills. Last thing then, physics careers. I put a little poster up there, but Mike's telling me you can't really see it too well. I was hoping to be able to see that there, but honest, the range of careers you can go into with physics qualification, because physics is recognized as developing lots of employability skills. Physicists are highly sought after. It's interesting to go, and one of the things up there which I was finding is banking. The world of banking draws quite a few people from physics background in banking because they're used to the mathematical models, exponential growth, these sort of things. It's all done, a lot of it is done in through physics, through maths we use in physics. So you've got your aerospace, you've got your engineerings. Oh, I'll turn around and have a quick look. He's even got music written up there. Music, sound waves, it's all covered in physics. So physics opens up a whole host of career paths. You don't have to be a career physicist. You don't have to know everything about supernova explosions. Physics opens up a whole host of different areas. I'm just looking at the time. That's 10 minutes. I've done quite well there. I tried to time myself earlier on. It took more than 10 minutes. So if you've got any problem, I can see some questions have come through. So I'm going to take a drink of water now, as opposed to a cup of tea, and I'm going to pass you over to Mike. Okay, Mike, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully everyone can hear me as well. Yes, we've had 4 questions in so far. Well, 5, and one I think Brian's already answered with the question about maths. But if anyone else has any other questions, if you just pop them in that box, and we'll get to you in turn. So we got 2 that are quite similar. So Kath and Oscar. Kath asked how many hours a week and how many hours of homework and self-study. And Oscar asked about how many lessons we have per week. So all the subjects at QE have the same amount of lessons each week. So you have 4 lessons, and altogether that's 5 hours of lesson time. In physics, we generally split the classes. So you get me for 2.5 hours and then Brian for 2.5 hours, and we take a topic each. And in general, we recommend people do the same amount of time outside of lessons as they do in lessons. So if you've got 5 hours of lesson time, you would be expected to do 5 hours outside. And that could be a combination of work that we set you, but also there are websites that we use. There's one called Isaac Physics that we use a lot. And you can use that to do practice questions and get immediate feedback as well. So I think that was Kath and Oscar. Neve asked whether textbooks are free or if students have to pay for them. The textbooks are free. They're loaned out from the library, so you get the first year textbook for the whole year. And then at the start of the second year, we swap that around and you get the full physics textbook that covers both years. So there's no cost associated with that. And another one just popped in. So Abigail's asked about class sizes. We have a maximum class size of 24, and we very rarely go over that. But our first year at the moment, Brian will have to correct me, I think we've got about 18 in a class.
No, yeah, that's right. It's averaging about 18 in the first year class this year. Second year is about 22, aren't they? They're about 22, but first year is about 18.
Usually. So yeah, class sizes are much smaller than you'd be probably used to at school for the classes. And we've just had 2 questions that are quite similar. So somebody anonymous has asked whether you need physics for chemical engineering. And somebody else, Daniel, has asked if can chemistry be useful for engineering careers? So they're quite well kind of linked together. We certainly get a lot of physics students who go on to do chemical engineering. I don't think you need physics, but it would probably help. It's probably a nice to have instead of a need to have, I would think, for chemical engineering. And then mainly for engineering careers, I think that mainly universities would be interested in maths alongside physics. But again, the chemistry is always a useful extra link in there as well. I've just got lots of other pop-ups here as well. So Mark asked whether physics links with psychology. It can do. The kind of psychology, there's a bit of statistical work in psychology. There's some maths within there, but there aren't any explicit links, I wouldn't have thought.
I wouldn't have thought so, no.
But it wouldn't be a detriment. Usually psychology students would study something like sociology alongside psychology.
We have got a few students this year who are doing maths and physics psychology.
Yeah.
There's no harm in doing it, but I wouldn't say it's direct. Not at A level anyway, there's no direct links.
No. And then we've got Emily's asked which firms take physics apprenticeships. I don't think there possibly are some specific physics apprenticeships, but it would be an engineering based apprenticeship, I think, for physics students who would then go on. I'm trying to think recently, often they're companies you wouldn't have heard of, kind of local engineering companies. But we had a student recently did a robotics-based apprenticeship somewhere over on Teesside. Yeah, I don't know about specific physics apprenticeships.
Yeah, our careers advisors, they're excellent here. I mean, basically at QE we have 2 careers advisors, and that's basically their whole job is looking at careers and looking at apprenticeships. So any questions along those lines, you might want to email into college, and it'll go to the careers advisors, and they'll give you much better advice there than what Mike and I could give, because it's always changing. These apprenticeships and what universities want to accept on courses, it's changing all the time. And our careers advisors, I'd always point you to careers advisors, our careers advisors, to ask their advice.
Yeah, so we've got another 2 questions that link together quite well, actually both from Henry. Henry's asked specifically about whether we study nuclear physics, and then he's also asked which topics we each teach. So I'll put those down as answer live. So yeah, nuclear physics is part of the second year of the course. And at the moment, with the first years, I teach the electricity and waves half of the course. Brian teaches the mechanics side. So he's currently rolling cars down ramps, and I'm currently getting students to measure resistance of components, or I'm about to do that. So yeah, you can just see there, Brian's got the textbook up. So all the stuff that's in blue is the module 3, which is forces and motion, which is Brian. So that's, you might have heard of Newton's laws of motion and momentum and work, energy and power. And then everything in red is what I teach. So we've got charge and current, resistance, and then more electrical work, and then waves. And then, yeah, the exciting bit at the end of the first year on quantum physics. Just a bit of an introduction to it.
But to be honest, to me and Mike, I'm sorry, Mike, I'm speaking to you there.
That's okay.
The more interesting stuff is in the second year of a course. Second year of course is when we get the nuclear physics, get the cosmology, get the medical physics side of things. To me, the second year of course, physics just gets more interesting the further you get through it. You know, the further you take physics, the more interesting it gets, to be honest.
Yeah.
That was a plug, that, Mike, wasn't it?
Sorry?
That was a clear plug, that, wasn't it?
It was a good plug. So we've got lots of questions about specific careers or specific subject combinations. So again, as Brian said before, we can't really give specific career advice because it changes all the time. But Ben's asked about physics for archaeology. I would imagine it's not a required subject.
Not required. It's useful, but it's definitely not required.
And certainly a lot of, from vaguely remembering Time Team, they used to get the geophys people out, didn't they, with the probes, and find things under the ground that way. And I have heard a few things recently about space archaeology, so using satellite images and sensing from in orbit. So certainly you would understand that better if you'd done a physics A level. And then oh, there's loads of questions coming in.
Oh, hell.
So Daniel asked about further maths, whether further maths is needed for degrees or is it just maths? Which I think it would depend on the university for a physics degree, whether you would need further maths or
yeah. Maths. If you're looking at a heavily theoretical physics-based course, if you really look at a theoretical side, they'll probably appreciate maths, further maths, physics more than any other combination. The more theoretical your physics is, the more heavily driven by mathematics it is. So if you know at this stage, you definitely want to be, looking at theoretical physics, studying general relativity or, Big Bang theories or some of these sort of things. If you know that's where your passions lie, then your maths, further maths, physics is a definite combination to be doing.
You should certainly consider further maths, and it might be that you decide not to take it, but it's certainly something you should think about. Thomas has asked about how many practicals we do each week and how are the 12 practicals assessed. So those are the 12 practicals are usually done as group work. We do more than 12 practicals. it's not a specific amount of a week. You might do a little small practical, which isn't one of the assessed ones, just to get an idea of a topic or a concept. And then the 12 practicals that are actually assessed, it's only very slightly more formal. We take a bit more of a note of who's doing what, and would keep an eye out for anybody who wasn't taking part. But generally speaking, everybody kind of mucks in and gets on with the practicals. But yeah, it'd be difficult. Probably most weeks between us, we would do a practical.
Yeah, at least some sort of practical work, definitely.
Yeah. Or a demonstration, but there would be something. Neve asked, how many students will you take next year for the course? As many as we can get. I don't think that we wouldn't run out of space or teachers. So
yeah, QE would look to put on extra classes if a demand's there. They would look to put on extra classes. It's not that we've got a ceiling limit to fill. If a demand's there, QE would look to timetable more classes.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've had two people asked. One person's asked about physics with biology, and so that's HA has asked about physics with biology, and then Elsa has asked about maths, physics, and English. I think that's it for subjects. Yeah. So we have there are some really common subject combinations. So almost all physics students, but not all, but almost all do maths A level alongside, and then a huge number do chemistry, a lot do computer science, a lot do geology. And then we also have students who might do all three sciences. So somebody who is interested in medicine might decide to do chemistry, biology, and physics as three science subjects. And certainly there are aspects of biology that physics would help with. So some of the more mechanical side of it. English, there's no reason why you couldn't do physics and English as another subject. Sometimes, again, if you're thinking of a course, something like engineering, you would definitely need your maths and physics, but you might want to keep your options a bit more broad. And so you could do English alongside that. And then kind of linked into that, I feel like I'm on a talk radio show. Tom's asked about an email address that he could email about careers advice. So I think most schools will have some careers advisors, and you get an independent career advice in school. So you could always ask at school about those. Or if you've got general questions, you could either email us through the, there is a physics website with information about physics at QE, and our email addresses are on there. Or if you email just the general inquiries email address from the QE website, and you would get, they will be able to pass on information to careers. They're very busy, so hopefully they will get back to you, but you might have a little wait.
I'll just go back to the maths question there. This year we've got, what is it, 76 students in the first year, 10 of which aren't doing maths. So just to give you some sort of indication what Mike was saying there, this year we've got 10 students out of 76 who are not doing the maths A level. So by far the vast majority do maths, but as I was saying, it's not essential to do maths.
And who've got here? So Ben's asked, what's the lowest grade accepted for the course? So I think Ben means the GCSE entry requirements. So those entry requirements are all on the website, and it's essentially 6s, as Brian said. So 6 in maths, and then a 6 in science or in physics for that one. And what here? So Lucy's asked about how many girls take physics. We've got about, I think nationally it's 20%.
20% nationally.
Into girls, and we're about the same, I think. We're about 1 in 5 for us. So it would be very unlikely that you'd be the only girl in your physics group, Laura. Something would have gone a bit strange with the timetabling if you were. But there'd almost certainly be a couple of girls in your group at least. There seems to be more than when I did A-level physics. I think it was just
more when I did A-level, that's for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, and Henry has asked, what's your favourite topic from over the whole course? Go on, Brian, you can go first on that.
My favourite topic for the whole course, it's honestly, it's either the nuclear physics or the cosmology side of things. I'm going to go nuclear. I'm going to go nuclear.
Oh, that's good, because I'm going to go for the cosmology side. Well, I haven't said that there are some of the bits that you would think would be the kind of quite dull bits, but actually when you get into them, you kind of see how they fit into real life.
Dull bits? Did you say dull bits?
Little bit. So they do fit in with real life there, and you kind of start picturing. So even as daft as we've had a new shed built, not this one, a different one, and about the reason why the cable couldn't be too long to get power down to it, and that links in with the A-level physics as well. And we've got it's a last question. It's not really a question, it's a comment. From somebody who is currently at uni and didn't take further maths. They think further maths would be really helpful for that one. And I think that we've run out of questions, Brian.
Blow my neck.
Oh, hang on.
Oliver's got one in there.
So Oliver asked about if it matters which maths A level you choose. I don't think, not particularly. I think if even just single, it does maybe for where you would progress on to after QE. Some universities require further maths for certain courses. But as far as the A-level course goes, maybe there's a better understanding of the maths for further maths students, but it doesn't particularly matter, I don't think. And then Laura's asking us if we can read the future and know if there will be an actual open evening. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
But we just don't know. It depends on if we're allowed open evenings or not, or if we can do them safely.
But having said that, if anybody has any questions at any stage, if you just email college, like Mike said, on the Google Physics website or on the QE website, you see our email addresses on there. If you've got any questions at any stage over the next few months, just email us. And again, you could just email QE directly. They'll send an email to all of us, or email us directly. If you've got any questions at any stage, just email through.